Good day. How are you doing? It is an absolute pleasure to be here with
Yes.
you. Thank you so very much for your warmth. We feel your energy and we thank you for sharing in this day with us, this time, this space. I'm
Mhm.
Michelle, and I have with me my soul sister, Narda.
Yes.
So, as we get started,
Oh,
there's a quote that we wanted to share with you. So, let's do so now. Isn't that beautiful? Marianne
oh,
Williamson. The spiritual journey,
indeed.
the
Mm,
unlearning of fear, and the
mhm.
acceptance of love. Hmm.
Ain't that the truth?
It
Yeah.
certainly is. And let's get deeper into some more truth and get into some downloads. Want to find out what your downloads are for today? So,
Yeah.
Narda, mind, what are your downloads for today?
Woo. My downloads. It's so interesting that the
Hmm.
quote that you just put up, that is so in alignment with the topic of the downloads of what been coming to my heart. And it's around ancestral healing. It's around, I'm looking down. So if anybody, I'm looking down in my paper again.
Yes.
Generational curses and inherited stuff that comes down from your ancestral. And, it's so interesting on our journey. We are given or just handed this into our life as we are born into the particular bloodline.
Yes.
And from our ancestors, we just handed down mannerisms, qualities, characters, false belief systems, ideologies, whatever, and you're just given to you from the time
Yes.
you're born. And sometimes a lot of these things are subconscious. A lot of the things are things that you may hear like your family or your relatives talk about it here and there, but there's a lot of things that are ingrained in like down to your DNA. So it's so interesting that the quote that you put up, Michelle, it's so in alignment to what this is and what been coming to my heart to speak about. And so oftentimes we get so tied in and so feel entrapped by the feeling that we can't alter, we can't shift, we can't heal, we can't transform that. But that is far from the truth. We can transform. Some people might call it generational curses. I don't like to use the word curse because it gives you the sense and the feeling that you don't have power, but you're divine beings, you're a spirit being having a human experience. You're not a human being having a spiritual experience. So,
Right.
in that sense, a shift in perspective to come back to understand that you do have the power to alter the shift. And I would say this was inspired by the thought and observation of not only people in my own family, but the observation of others of how much people unconsciously just hand stuff down to their children. And there's the repeat of it in from the ancestors, from the grandmother to the parents to the parents to the children, it comes down. And it is so important to take a deliberate conscious effort to shift and to clear and to heal and to transform and to transmute that. I use all these different words to describe it, but it's all of the above. So that's my download. I can go into it for like 2 hours, but it's my download for now. So yes,
Wow.
Michelle.
That
Hmm.
is so powerful what you're saying there. My download
Hmm.
for today, it is a reflection on myself
Oh.
as a child. Anytime my grandparents would take me to a funeral, one in particular I
Mm-hmm.
remembered I was probably about 11,
Mm-hmm.
and someone broke into song and they were talking about the deceased. And I
Mm-hmm.
wondered, why is it every time someone passes, they always act as though the person was the best being on
Mm-hmm.
earth, and
Mhm.
As a child, in my innocence, I'll be like, I know this person. Like, and this one in particular, I remember the person broke into song speaking of the person, and they said,
Mm.
I want to sing a song because it reminds me of how he lived his life, and I want to
Mm.
sing he always did it his way. And then they started, I did it
Mm.
my way. And in my childlike innocence,
Yeah.
I feel like, no, we're not supposed to do it our way. We're supposed to do it Spirit's way,
Mm.
God's way.
Mhm.
But
Mhm. Mhm.
as I am turning this childhood thought around and looking at it in so many different angles, something
Mm.
that came on me for today's download is understanding really and truly, maybe all that matters is the good that we would have done. And what falls off of us as we would shed the
Mm.
flesh, we shed the sins of the flesh and are freed by those shackles of our past. And what is focused
Mm.
on is the light, the goodness, and the right
Mm.
that we have done. And maybe that is what we're to focus
Mm.
on in persons,
Yeah.
not waiting
Mm.
until they breathe their final breath,
Mm.
but while they're alive, let us ensure that we add to their life by thinking of their good, thinking of their light,
Right.
thinking of their right, and just seeing how we can add to it even further. Maybe that's it.
Mm. Mm. You know, Michelle, it's something that I often think about, and it started being a predominant thought for me when people pass on for the past few years. And
Yes,
when someone dies, the feeling that you feel or the thought that you feel like, oh my gosh, she was such a good person. I have a firm belief that even in the thoughts of others, when you pass on, that thought goes up to heaven. It's
yes,
almost like a prayer, like a good vibration to help the soul go on
yes,
its journey.
correct,
And sometimes when a person was a scoundrel or a mean person or
right.
unkind soul, you have unkind thoughts like, oh my gosh, that person wasn't a nice person,
And we should
or
free them
that
from that.
yeah. And even that's a thought, that's a legacy that you live, that
Yes,
you leave behind, the feeling that people feel about you, and what effect you've made, and what positive energy you've left behind, and that may work for you when you've transitioned, or it may work against you. So it's
yes,
so important that the best place we can be in is a place of detachment when someone dies.
yes,
Even if the person didn't be kind towards like say a person like Hitler, I'm
yes,
sure there's a belief system, or I would say like a conclusion a lot of people have concluded on a spiritual perspective, and this is internationally, that Hitler's soul is in a deep place of rest right now
wow,
because of the trauma he have created. He manifested and single-handedly created this trauma that he have hurt a lot of people and generations to come. So his
yes,
soul is so broken that is in so much light that God is literally wrapping the soul in so much light, because the soul is back in the pure light.
yes,
So the soul is so traumatized because it's seeing what the human side have done, and the
yes,
soul have to be mended and loved and cradled by God. So from the spiritual perspective. So that's the thing, no one of us have been unkind to the extent of Hitler. There's a
yes,
very few on the earth. But to think like, what kind of legacy do we want to live and
yes,
leave behind? For that's the with the soul perspective, the transition of the soul. But what legacy would you want to leave? In terms of the child, if I'm thinking about something else, and my words rushed ahead. Think about a little child. A
yes,
child that had died, a little baby, and everybody's like, "Oh, that child is so young. That child is too young to die." Look how you feel when the child have died. The immense reflection you go through, the emotions that come up, the sadness that come up, that put you in a state of deep reflection. That was the child's legacy, to have impacted all these lives. So in the way someone dies and what experiences that they have. I know I'm kind of getting a little deep on the spiritual side, but to think about it, the legacy that is left um after someone dies, and I can go on and on and on, but let me just stop right there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's not go that deep. But really and truly, I just think consistently we should always focus on how we want to be remembered. and we want to be remembered in light. And still,
Yes.
always, we're to free others by thinking of them in a light-hearted way. And
Mhm.
that's why I love so much when you look at the Egyptian pantheon and you have, for example, Queen Mahat, who would be weighing the scales, and your heart must be as light as a feather to be able to carry on to the afterlife. When you
Mhm.
think of these different stories that we hear in the Egyptian pantheon, for example, it is so rich that we can
Mhm.
use these stories
Mhm.
ourselves. You know, this is
Mhm.
an example for us, and we see it
Mhm.
in different forms in terms of
Mhm.
various religions or various beliefs. We see
Mhm.
those stories told maybe with different names, but you're
Mhm.
seeing a similar story, and it's all about being as light as a feather. It's all about
Mhm.
staying in the light. It's all about
Mhm.
appreciating those
Yeah.
around you, keeping your heart light. And that's why
Mhm.
I think when some persons say, for example, you know, there's this quote within one of my favorite books, which is guard your heart. And when some persons think of guard their heart, they believe it's about keeping
Yeah.
something in,
Yeah.
but it's not about keeping something in, it's about
Mhm.
keeping something out at times.
Mm.
So they would hold back on loving because they believe, all right, this is
Yeah.
how I protect myself, this is how I guard my heart. When realistically, we're supposed to ensure we keep hatred, rancor, envy, revenge,
Mm.
jealousy
Mhm.
out and guard
Mhm.
the purity and keep love in
Mhm.
and allow
Mhm.
it to fill the lives of those that we come into contact with.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
carries us back to the quotation that we started off
Mhm.
with from Marianne Williamson, which is the spiritual journey. It is about unlearning fear and the acceptance of love.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I felt like you preach. Like it. Yeah. But that's so true because the perspective of people will think it's guard your heart, me like put up all the walls and the boundaries and all of
Yes,
that. But you know, that perspective of guarding heart is actually keeping even light from coming in and light
yes,
from going out. You know,
yeah,
the and therefore blocking your own blessings
yes.
and blocking yourself from receiving and healing and growing and all of that loveliness. But I love that. I love that you said it in that particular way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I remember that as someone I used to interact with always used to say, you have a bleeding heart. That's not good.
Mm.
You have a bleeding heart. You need to guard your heart. And they would always use that quote, you need to guard your heart. And as I
Mm.
thought about that, I was thinking silently. Well, yes, obviously you think silently. You don't usually share such thoughts. But as I was thinking,
Yeah.
I felt very deeply that, do I have it wrong? Or can this be viewed another way?
Mm.
When someone is thinking God, they immediately think it's imprisoning something within you. But no, it is a protection for what is
Yeah.
outside of you. And I thought of royal jewels. I mean, you can go, you
Mm.
can see it, but it's under God.
You
It's under.
know, when you were collecting the quote and I mentioned to you spirit beings having a human experience and that is so tied into like what you're talking about and what you the quote that you just shared. You know, when I observe people around me, I observe humanity, I observe clients, I observe myself and I, you know, like the unlearning part of it, we weren't taught that we are spirit beings having a human experience. We were taught that we're human beings having a spiritual experience if we so allow, you know, and that spiritual experience come through religion, come through the church, the mosque, you know, the temple, and you have it once in a while. But we, you know, coming back to who we are, and I urge so many people and I encourage everyone to start diving into yourself and start exploring the depth of you as a spirit being, of course with discernment and with wisdom, because so
Yes,
many people dive, I have to say that, you know, so many people dive into that aspect and they explore the dark things and you don't have the strength nor the wisdom or the knowledge to discern or You can discern, but you don't know how to get yourself out of something like that. So there's explore all, my little hilarious quote, all willy nilly. So, no, you don't. Be with wisdom. Go with guidance. Discern the people who are introducing you to certain things. Discern the experience, like feel it within yourself.
Yes.
Michelle and I are not special. We are just like everybody else. We are living our path and our purpose. We have developed our intuition. We are developing our spiritual gifts and everything. Each person, every single human being, a creation of divine, of creation of God, and have been given that very quality within that, though the gifts and abilities, and maybe something so different than mine and so different from Michelle's, but I really, really urge people to begin diving. And there's a lot of people that dive, they start to jump into like seeking on the spiritual side, but you cannot truly seek, without a connection with God, without a deliberate divine connection with the creator. And you might use the universe, you might use the word source, you might use the great I am, whatever. It's the same thing. We get caught up with labels so often. So it's the same essence of the great I am. So I really urge people, you connect straight to divine, and then you start to explore. Do not explore without that connection, because you can get yourself seriously roped into stuff that will set you back. You know, to use it very lightly, it will set you back. So
Yes.
yeah, we are spirit beings, and I see so many people living without the consideration that there's more. There's more to you and I. There's more to all of us. There's more to life and existence and
Indeed.
ourselves and the path that we are here to explore. Some people don't even believe that they have a purpose,
Yes.
and some people don't think a purpose have to be on stage. No, your purpose could be you bake the best bread. And people love the bread, and they eat it, and it's yummy and it's healing to their body. It could be something that seems simplistic, but it brings a lot of joy. You
Correct.
know, um, so that's my big urge in general across the board in terms of my career and my life message to people.
Yes.
And I really feel, to really urge people today, whoever
And
is listening, watching this.
there's sweetness in simplicity. That word you said in terms of simplicity, there's sweetness in simplicity. And a
Mm,
quote that comes to mind and heart right now is despise not small beginnings.
mm,
So
mm.
appreciate the simple things. There's something my father
Yes.
would always say to me growing up, and he would repeat it over and over and over again. And it stayed with me, and it is this life is an illusion. And I believe
Yes.
that to the very core of my being, that what is
Yeah.
more important are maybe the things we can't touch, maybe the things we can't hold,
Yeah. Yeah.
things that are within and you can't see with the naked eye, but you
Yeah.
can feel,
Yeah.
you can sense. And speaking of
Yeah.
feeling and sensing, it's now that time in which we've got to do some soul spection.
Yes.
So it's time now for soul spection, and I'm going to share with you a piece that I have not even named as yet, but I'll share it with you. My heart is speaking, so I must stay quiet and right. Father, tell me how to win this battle and gain victory in the fight. They pay me to work 9 to 5, but I have given much more than that. Yet they look down on me and speak to me in a way that is very matter of fact. I should pour my spirit into my own cup. I have given way too much to them. They treat me like an enemy while I treated them like family or a friend. It is time to build my own and see that I am built strong and tough. Gone will be the days when anyone can speak to me rough. I have gone over and beyond, and now I am beyond giving this another glance. I am ready to say goodbye to them and finally give my dreams a chance. Going to get what I need and build until I am fruitful and tall. On the day that I leave, they will hold their heads and fall. They don't say it, but they know it. I am the best they ever had and ever will. And that sweet farewell will give me so much joy, and such a thrill. They will wish they treated me better, but never will I turn back. For whatever will I march as my money and opportunities continue to stack. I will be their boss, but will not do what they did to me. Their nasty ways cannot turn me from the beautiful soul I am meant to be. Prophets, I will show them how to make through a method tried, tested, and true. And that is by placing God at the center of everything you think, you say, and do. My story is for His name's sake. I am where I am meant to be because the goodness within will only further fuel my prosperity. And that was written in
Mm.
May 2020. And it's amazing. But I believe although it was written in May 2020, it's something that many can and will relate to because
Yes.
time to start pouring into your own cup. Start sipping from your own cup, watering your
Yes.
own garden, waking your own dreams up. Fear not.
Mm.
We go back to that quote. The spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear. Are you fearful
Yes.
of what will happen if you no longer have that 9 to 5, 8 to 4, or whatever shift system they have in place? Are you scared?
Mhm.
Oh no.
Mhm.
You're thinking you will fall? Take the leap and you'll realize you would fly. You would soar to heights that you would have never dreamed of before.
Mm. I love it. It's a human experience when your soul is calling out for something more and you
Wow.
have purpose, you have a drive within you, God have placed a vision in your heart. There's
Yes.
something more, you keep feeling there's more. And oftentimes when you're in a position where you are, you got the supervisors, the bosses, everything, and there are seemingly the voices, it's easy for you to shut the voice from within and
Yes.
listen to the voice outside and to think, and that's where the conflict comes in, and that's when the heart wrenching, like, gosh, more this, and you think about the bills, you think about all of this. And I have to urge people, act out of wisdom. But when you act out of wisdom, also be mindful. You know your finances more than anything. You be mindful of it. Also work on your career in terms of your passion career or your purpose more
Yes.
than you work on your job. Give your job 100%. Give your career, your passion, your purpose 200%. You know?
300
Yeah. Okay. 300.
up the ante, up the ante. And
Yes.
as Dr. Miles Monroe would say, he says, it is time to forget being employed and become deployed. So work, if you're working your 9 to 5 or your 8 to 4, work on yourself those other hours. You have
Yes.
24
Yes.
hours in a
Yes.
day. Use it to your advantage. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're placed in certain positions, not because somebody is teaching you in terms of what to do. Sometimes you're learning what not to do.
You're right. Still
So you
lessons. It's still
yeah,
lessons. Yeah.
it's all lessons, but we need to give
Hmm.
thanks for that. And it's amazing that when you say stuff, when you say something, it's like a contract that you're making with the universe. It must happen. It must take place. There's a reason why there's a certain desire that you have within your heart, and be brave enough to speak it, to claim it, to give yourself victory over it with the power of your words, because your words are your wand. And interestingly, the word itself, words, put that S in front, and it's your sword. That's how you're going to be able to pick up your sword and fight against the various challenges that may come your way. Your words, use them to your advantage. Put that S in front and make your words your sword.
Mm. I always say that one of your gifts is actually words. Yeah. Hence the reason you're an author. Hence the reason you're a poet. Oh, Susie.
Hi, Susie!
Hi, Susie. Susie and I share all these funny, hilarious puppy videos to each other all the time.
Oh, that's so sweet. So sweet.
Yeah, we enjoy humor and puppies. You
My
know,
9-year-old wants a puppy, as we're talking about puppies. And my husband, for quite some time, has been telling her, okay, when we move, she realized, okay, we didn't move yet. Some years passed. What's going on? So he said, okay, when I build a wall, she's like,
build a wall. He's want to build a wall too. Political Trump.
yes, yes, yes. So on the politics within the household with this puppy, it's about building a wall. And I must say, she has spoken about this puppy for the longest period in time. And I think if my husband really takes the time, he would realize he doesn't want the puppy because he's
Oh,
thinking of the responsibility that it would
right,
bring
right,
us.
right,
But I am thinking a puppy would be a great responsibility for her. It would be a
right.
great opportunity for her to learn. And I
Right.
think it is time. Thank God she's not on Facebook because I believe it's time she gets that puppy that she wants. Really. I'm gonna have to work
This will
my
be
my
evident.
mommy crush wife magic and be like, puppy appear. Or
Puppy
that is
power.
puppy power, yeah. I was just thinking of puppy power. But as you said, that I just felt like it's confirmation. My
Mhm.
child deserves a puppy.
Yes, let's manifest it for Munchkin.
Yes,
Oh, Susie, we're
and that
good.
yes, puppies bring so much joy. I
Yes,
think
yes,
so
I
too.
agree. I
Yes,
agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. They keep your heart so open, and I just love them. I love them. I think they're four-legged angels. That's my opinion. You know, they keep your
wow.
heart so open. I just think there's something there because they have souls as well.
Yes.
You know. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, my darling.
Maybe that's what I'm gonna do when we wrap things up today. Go to the pet store and see if I find a puppy for my daughter.
Oh, that's a good mission.
Yes. And think of ways in which I can say, babe, you sexy guy, you.
Hunk, my hunk,
My hunk,
my
my
Superman.
boo. We have to make that happen.
Yeah.
Hi,
Oh, Brandon.
Brandon. How are you, Brandon?
Oh,
It is
such a
a
lovely
joy
young
to
man.
have you. Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. So, yes, I think, Narda, at this time we can get right into some hard work.
Mm, yes.
Let's do that. Get right into
Yes.
some hard
Sounds
work
good.
now.
Okie dokie. So let's start with some hard work. You know, connected to the downloads that I got, and I really feel that we should talk a little bit about it before I lead into the hard work. A lot of people feel entrapped by something they would say as ancestral curses or generational curses, or you would see like a pattern that comes down the line from the ancestors, whether it be being broke or being unhealthy or having a certain anger issue or whatever it may be from the generations of the men coming down, the woman coming down, or whatever it may be. And when you use some words as heavy as generational curses, you would think that it's incapable of being broken, of being released, and being dissolved. But it's far from the truth. And it's not something that requires like a some do require like some real spiritual breaking, but it's some things that requires a change and a shift from a deep place of heart, a place of your mind, a place of choosing something different and committing to have something different in your life. It could be the way the family is living. It's something like what you want to live out, and thinking that you're being in bondage because of or feeling limited or entrapped by the way that the family have lived their lives, and just thinking that you just got to throw yourself into that same energy, but it's far from the truth. So here's a heart work, and I always love placing my hand on my heart, and each person might have something different that they wanting to do in terms of releasing ancestral, releasing not even just ancestral. This actual exercises can be used to be releasing negative energy that is projected to you from others. It can be people who deliberately use the black magic or the negativity
Ah,
or the projection. And I know, and I'm speaking, we're international right now, but I know in everybody's culture there's some measure of that.
Yes.
So place your hand on your heart. You can place one hand on your heart and hand on your head, and literally close your eyes and say, "No one or nothing has the power over me." And say it
No
multiple
one or
times
nothing has
until
the
you feel
power.
it sink into yourself. No one or nothing has the power over me.
No one
No
or
one or
nothing has the power.
nothing has the power over me. That's when
No
you
one
think, okay,
thing.
someone is doing you witchcraft, someone is the ancestral stuff, the negative energy at the job, whatever. Or maybe it can just you just thinking it's a possibility that someone is sending you negative vibes. Step into your power, your dominion. No one or nothing has the power over me.
No
No
one
one or
thing.
nothing has the power over me. And it's to begin to own your own energy and begin to hone into your own energy and stop giving the power over to other things, everybody else, situations, even something that happened before you were born. It could have been something your mom was going through that deliberately you absorbed, coming into this life. No
Yes.
one or nothing has the power over me. No
Yes.
one or nothing. And you gotta sink into it. Literally let it say it until your emotions and everything snap into place. It's a powerful exercise, but it's again one of those exercises you have to bring in your heart, you have to bring in your commitment, it have to be something so powerfully merged that you to snap into place so it can work. You can't just say it and like empty words, no, nothing, or no. No, you gotta say it with dominion, say it with power, and really mean it. Like there's a Medea video says, you'll be fed up. Something about being fed up of being fed up, And so this is one of those things. Like you really want that change and transformation and to live differently? Do you really desire to live out your purpose on this earth? Do you really desire to be in service of divine? And service of divine doesn't have to be you have to give up your life and actually service of divine can be lived out so passionately, beautifully, and easily with all the beautiful things of life. So you don't have to go up on some mountain somewhere and live in a shack. In other words, people think service is that. No, that is actually escapism from living into the human world where you're needed. All right. So
Yes.
I just had to say that side note. That's a side note. But yeah,
Yes.
no one or nothing has the power over you. And stop giving away your power to like, oh, the family has a generational curse, or this, or ancestral, or I heard my great grandfather was
You
in
are
this.
the words you speak and the thoughts you
Yes,
think.
exactly. Exactly. And stop giving away power to what you think your grandmother did, what evil she did to so and so people, or thinking, you were booted outside of a marriage. So, or your mother was, you were illegitimate, or whatever words you want to describe or say something. You're here on planet Earth, you were meant to be here. Acknowledge
Yes.
the fact that the very fact that you're breathing, you're living, God allowed you to be here. So start to own your purpose. Own the fact that you have purpose by just very fact that you're breathing. So yeah, I can talk about this for another 2 hours, but yeah, this is
We
just the hub of
definitely
it.
can. And
Yeah.
this reminds me of, I always say this, as you know, Narada, one of my all-time favorite quotes would be, don't you know that you are gods? And
Mm.
it's about celebrating and appreciating God within you, not
Yeah.
offending God within
Yeah.
you, and
Yeah.
understanding because God is within you.
Yes.
There is power within you. Never forget that. Never allow anyone or
Yeah.
anything to make you feel differently. Stand in your
Yeah.
power. That is the message that you're bringing
Yeah.
forth. And you're giving such valuable tools to
Yeah.
consistently not just remind, but keep us aligned with the
Yeah.
divine.
I
For
love that.
it rhymed.
Yes.
But as Dion Fortune in one of her books,
Mm.
Psychic Self Defense, she
Mm.
mentioned when someone was attacking her in the spiritual realm, she
Mm-hmm.
said this woman was trying to get her to say certain words about herself.
Mm.
And she
Mm.
just knew she could not say those words. And the lady was her boss and was trying to get her to say the words. Sometimes persons try to get you to say the words, repeat after me, say this. No, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
in your power. And she said she just knew if she would have said those words, she would have given away her power, and she
Right.
refused to. And she left that job immediately the next day because it was
Mm,
a live-in post. And she said the next day she packed up her bags and left when no one was watching because she knew she could not give in. She couldn't give up her power. And that is
mm,
where the attack comes from. When you give up your power, there's certain things that people can only take from you if you give
mm.
consent, if you give permission. And sometimes you are giving permission without even realizing that you do.
And it's so important to stand in divine protection every single day, not from a place of fear, but from a place of love that you're a powerful, divine, beautiful being, and that you have a divine protection. You have divine team, you have God, the Holy Spirit, you have the divine protection around you. Because a lot
Yeah.
of people could hear what we just talked about and feel afraid because they feel limited. And no, it's not about being afraid. You have a power that you don't understand yet.
Yes.
That is, it's so important for you to begin to tap into, and you can raise your vibration. So another thing I have to say, in negative energy, low vibration, witchcraft, whatever, is very low. If your
Mhm.
vibration drops, you meet that energy. The
Yes.
best place, raise your vibration.
With your
Step into
vibration.
joy, praise,
Yes.
gratitude. God is good. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Step into that love and light. Step into that place of saying, I am a divine child of the Most High. Whatever. Stay in that energy. From the time you dip, oh, you're going to meet it. So that
Yes.
is a lower vibration. So ascend,
Correct.
raise your vibration. And so something I have to say that is coming to my mind. Sometimes when we just talk about ancestral healing and wanting to choose something different that you feel at your heart and your soul and God is guiding you towards, and you don't know, you feel entrapped, some people may hesitate a little bit,
Mm.
like, because the norm of what they've lived and the norm of what they grew into was something, they're comfortable in that comfort zone. You got to ask yourself, what is your secondary gain? What are you gaining from being in that state? What are you gaining from not showing up in life? What are you gaining from um feeling entrapped or being entrapped? What are you gaining from staying into that state? Are you not, because you financially everybody else is supporting you and you may have to step out instead of support yourself? Is it that now people are going to expect something different out of you and you're going to have to do some work to shift yourself into that difference? Is it, what is your secondary gain? What are the things, maybe you bought into that everybody in my family line have had cancer, so I guess some part in my life I'll have cancer. What
Rebuke
is it?
that.
Are
Mhm.
you gonna change your eating habits? Are you gonna eat differently? Are you gonna exercise differently? Okay, your family line don't exercise. They don't do some sort of workout or some sort of to keep their body active or whatever is required to avoid illnesses to come into your system. Is it that there's something that you will hear that's like, oh my gosh, but I have to do this? Yeah, do something
Mhm.
different. Are you going to have to show up differently? When I say show up differently in the world, it means be different than you've been. So what is
Yes.
your secondary gain? So that's something. What am I holding myself back with? Why don't I want to do this? And something is something different, is something so deep and subconscious. I understand you can't really consciously all the time come
Yes.
into that awareness. But yeah, ask yourself that question.
That is so powerful what you're saying. And I remembered my friend that I call my Jiminy Cricket. He lives in Jamaica and such an awesome being. And
Mm,
we were having a conversation about health because he's very much into health and wellness.
mm,
And as he was sharing, he said everyone blames everything on genetics. So we were
mm,
talking about the physical side of things, but I'm seeing a parallel with the spiritual side of things, which is what
mhm,
you're speaking about.
mhm,
And on the physical side of things, he says, genetics, and really and truly, when you think about it, he says, genetics may be the gun, but it's the habit that is the trigger. So,
mm.
really and truly, what we learn is the habit.
Right,
So, when people are saying, all right, cancer runs in my family, he says, no, it's the habit that will bring about certain things that is
right,
the cause.
right.
And it's the parallel I'm seeing here also with the spirit when we're saying, from generation on to generation, my family, we did
Mhm,
this, we did that.
mhm,
You've been learning this since
mhm.
childhood.
Yeah,
So we have to unlearn. And here we are coming right back to this quote. Unlearn
exactly.
acceptance of
Yeah.
love. With that, good afternoon, Crystal. Crystal is on every week. by the way.
Yes. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Crystal. Also want to say hi to
Oh,
Dave.
Dave. Dave is an absolute sweetheart. He's a Facebook friend, such a lovely soul, gentle
Hi,
human
Dave.
being.
Hi, Dave. But yes, so
Yeah.
what are we learning? We have to unlearn some things.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't
Some of those
be,
things require effort.
yeah,
It requires the effort that some people aren't invested to make. But
correct.
even
Yes.
in your spiritual journey, like I
Mhm.
joked with a friend some time ago and I said, years ago I used to say if they told me that stepping into my spiritual gifts required all that work, I wouldn't have done it. I would have been unaware. But that was
Yes.
just a joke. Now, no, I chose not on I would rather not be unaware because of
Yes.
the depth you got to go into, the tears you cry, the loneliness you get into, the experiences that you have. You got to really dig deep. And choosing to be unaware right now when you're given the information, that is just ignorance, because you're ignoring the fact that some people don't like to hear it because then they feel that they have to be accountable now. So then they
Yes.
avoid. I know their clients who deliberately don't want to dive deeper into themselves because now they have to, oh, damn it, I know. So now I have to do the work. Yeah, you got to be
Yes.
accountable for it. A lot of people don't like to know because they want to live in what they say, ignorance is bliss. So they
Yes.
want to stay
Stay in that
ignorant.
state
So
of bliss.
yeah, so they don't know. So then, I didn't know. You think when you just say hypothetically, you return to the Father after you passed on in this life, and you're gonna tell the Creator that here's the deal. I didn't know, but I send a message through a book with Michelle. I send a message through YouTube. I send a message through the soul sessions with Narda and Michelle. I sent it so and so and so and so. You're the one who chose to ignore it.
Yes.
So again, unlearning, diving deeper, healing. LaShawn,
Hi,
hello.
LaShawn.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
So you
diving
can't say
deeper.
you didn't know.
Yeah, you can't say you don't know because you're the one who choosing to close your eyes to everything in this life, or
Yes.
choosing to close your eyes through the healing. And you know what? It's so beautiful because on the other side of that is so much awareness, there's so much joy, so much bliss, there's so much empowerment. The very feeling, knowing that you're living the purpose that God created you to live, is amazing. To me, after
Yes.
working with every single client and having been given the opportunity to speak into their life positively or to help them shift something or help
Yes.
them heal deeply, that is my fuel. That's my
Yes.
driving force. That feels so energizing. That feels so I feel replenished. I'm like, where's the next one?
Yes.
So like I want that for everybody. I want everybody to feel that within themselves that they're living on purpose.
And that's the thing, when you feel joy, when you feel filled with purpose, you want others to feel that too. As you were
Yes.
talking about hiding, my uncle, right? One thing I must say gets my family through everything is our ability to laugh. We laugh at just
Right.
about everything. And my uncle, this is no laughing matter, but at the same point in time, in reflecting and hearing the stories, we were able to really learn from it. And as a child growing up, I have an uncle that is a recovering addict. Ever so often, he would have had some slipbacks, but I remember going to
Mm,
the rehab sessions with him, and my grandmother would always carry me. I am the eldest grandchild, so
mm,
every time we would go to rebirth center, I would hear these stories with my uncle. And I remember I started writing. One of the first poems that I would have written would have been about drug abuse, the
mm,
powder that is a damage to us all. One story, though, I remember my uncle saying, and it was at that moment I realized, like, I will not ever do drugs.
mm.
When I heard
Wow.
this story, one story is he said he was hiding from the police. But because he was so high, he was closing his eyes and doing this, that he thought that that made
Wow.
him invisible. So, as you mentioned, hiding,
Mm.
again, another
Yeah,
parallel. That's a
yeah,
physical situation that we can use a parallel with the
yeah,
spiritual situation in terms of persons of thinking, because you're closing your eyes, you're
mm,
thinking you're going
yeah,
unnoticed, but the
yeah,
reality is you're not. Of
yeah.
course, as a child, I heard that and I was like, did you really? Like, seriously?
Mm,
But
mhm.
sincerely, we do that many times in so many different
Exactly.
scenarios. We're all guilty of it at some point.
Exactly.
To
Exactly.
stop thinking that because our eyes are closed, we are not
Yeah.
being seen.
Yeah.
Nima,
Well, Nima is in Princestown.
Nima. Hi,
Yeah.
Nima. It
So
is
yeah,
a
closing your eyes to it, or okay, so there's an analogy where God is sending you in a deserted island, right? God is
yeah,
sending you help. God is sending you a helicopter, a raft, a boat, all the possible help God is sending you. You saying no, but
God
you
is
tell
going to take
yourself
it.
it gotta be this other thing, right? So the
Yes,
helicopter come, no, you're not taking that because no way you wanted this particular way. The
yes,
raft game, no, you're not taking the raft. You make excuses for everything, and at the end of the day, God is sending you the messages. God is sending you the help, but you're telling yourself it gotta be this particular rigid way. It gotta be this in your human, puny, limited perspective and limited mind. It gotta be this.
yes,
So how many times like we're telling ourselves it gotta be this little thing here, and God is like, I am sending you this expansive opportunity, expansive information through so many different means and ways,
yes.
and it's so important to like, and that again is closing your eyes every other way and choosing to be this perspective opposed to like throwing
Correct.
out the wall and that's looking at like the grander scope of it. Even I tell people, hover above, look down in your mind, look at your own situation as though you're looking at someone else, and be able to look into it and see it from different perspectives, and live in the question, what else is possible? What is another perspective I can look at this thing? If only I see it would bring me so much expansion, so much joy and so much ease. Fill the words, put whatever word you want, and that's like a prayer to God. Father God, creator divine, was the other way that I can look at this? What is a perspective that I'm not yet seeing? If only I see,
Challenge
it
your
will.
perception.
Right, I love that. Yeah.
I'm seeing Amy Elizabeth says, I'm so glad that you're providing this information. We are all broken in many ways. Some going back
Mm.
to childhood. God bless you for what you're doing for us. XOXO. XOXO. Back to
Oh,
you.
right. Same to you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Amy.
for that.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many ways. There's so many things and so many doorways out, and so
Yes,
many options, and so many tools and techniques and ways of you don't have to pile the thing on your back and live the rest of your life and keep piling and piling and die suffering. There's
yes.
ways. There's many ways. It's just to be open minded, and I keep asking, living in the question and asking, what else is possible? What else is possible?
This
And
is
be open
possible.
minded and challenge your own thinking.
Yes. As you spoke about the different ways, I always think of Sesame Street, and they would have this game show host, and they'll be like, and here now it's will you eat it? And then they would have the guy on one side and the
Yeah.
girl on one side, and every time they bring something, the guy would be like, oh no thanks, I don't like that. And the lady would be like, oh yes I will. And I think we need to be that, oh yes I will.
Yeah,
Being
yeah, yeah,
ready
yeah.
to eat up whatever is being served
Yeah,
positively.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
And
Thank you,
you'll be
Amy.
surprised. Thank you, Amy. You'll be surprised. Sometimes even the things that you don't like may be the very things that will give you that
Yes,
fortitude to get to
yes.
the next step.
I gotta say something to confirm exactly what you're saying, Michelle. In my
Yes,
life so far, and I by no means have lived or know everything. I'm learning. I'll continue to learn to the last day of my life. I must say that every time there have been great opportunities or a great expansion in thinking or a great burst in my heart in terms of my spiritual awareness or
yes,
God doing some sort of big thing in terms of me to shifting into the very version I was born to be, it always came with having to say yes in a time that I didn't even know, I didn't even have a clue how
yeah,
that I was going to fulfill that yes. And but in
yes,
a stillness in my heart, I felt it's okay, it's safe, it's safe, but my humanness and my tendency to give up as a child, I gave up a lot. I didn't have that guidance as a child to keep persevering. So then that's a habitual way that I live my life. Hence the reason I'm a hypnotist. Hence the reason I'm looking for all these different techniques to help other people and help myself, So that's to excel. So every time there have been an expansion in my life, whether my inner life or my outer life, it have been because I said yes, despite scared, to something that I knew it felt scary and exciting at the same time. But then I didn't know how, but God made it possible. I was willing. So even into a person's healing journey, you gotta heal. You know that addictions is killing you. You know that way that habitual anger is killing you, is poisoning your relationships and your friendships and your work life and all of that. But you gotta say yes. Say yes to it and commit to it, because with that, don't just say yes and go back to tomorrow, like the same thing. Commit to it. And so I had to say that, every time it was like saying that yes it was scary. It was may not be humongously scary, but it was scary because it was stepping outside my norm.
Yes.
And I guess anybody who have had any form of some measure of success or anything in their life is because they stepped out, you know
And that's the thing. It might be scary, but do it anyway.
Yeah.
It might be
Because you feel that.
uncomfortable, but do it anyway. It's like training at the gym.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're lifting weights and you feel like, oh gosh, this is too heavy. But how would you build your
The
muscle if
muscles.
you just go with
Mhm.
easy? Push yourself a little
Yes.
further and a little further and a little further and just
Yes.
keep
Yes.
repeating that. Keep
Yes.
getting into
Yeah.
those moments of discomfort. Do it
Yeah.
anyway. Like some point in time, someone was sharing something with me and they were so focused on the mess. But don't be so focused on the mess that you miss the
Mhm.
message.
Oh.
Or
Yeah.
sometimes we may not want to take the pearls of wisdom coming from someone that we may say, this person is a mess.
Right.
But
Right.
don't focus so much on the mess that you miss the message.
Mm.
Don't
Yeah.
focus so much on the fear of heights that you refuse to go zip lining and learn how
Hmm.
awesome it is to just see
Hmm.
everything zipping past you below.
Yes.
Do it
Yeah.
anyway. Do it anyway.
Yes. I feel like something intuitively. I'm feeling a lot of people. This is ringing into their heart right now, and
I hope
it's so. Yeah. Hi, Roxanne. It's my sweet Roxanne. I haven't seen her in many years. Yes, I feel like this message is speaking to many people, and if it's speaking to you, no, this is another way God is bringing the information for you to get started on something. You might
yes.
don't quantum leap and jump ahead and think like, how am I going to get that done? As Michelle keeps saying, the bits and the pieces, starting small, starting small, starting small, and keep going. And one thing opens up something else, and another thing opens up something else, and another thing opens up. One thing leads to another. Don't think
Another.
like, how am I going to be that person on stage speaking my message?
Yes.
That mess that turned into a message, that experiences that you judge yourself for so many, and other people judge you about, when actually God had set it up in such a way that you have had that human experience. So then you be able to relate and to have that message from be blurted out to you to speak to all the people. Remember that experience that you thought was a message and you feel badly for even this moment? That is part of your life purpose. And I feel like I'm speaking to somebody right now, like I'm literally
Oh,
seeing I'm speaking into their
definitely.
heart.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
literally, this is a message for you. If you're actually been thinking about it, or like you've gotten yourself so distracted with life, with everything in life, actually living and staying alive, take a step backwards and say, like, okay, the living and staying alive is important, but have you made that your focus alone? Step back and like, okay, you have had those experiences. You might think it's so normal, like who can listen to that? Who gonna want to read that book? Who gonna want to hear that message? But everybody, when you do open your mouth and you speak about it, people are like, oh my gosh, tell me more. That is because that's profound for them. It may be simple for you, but it's profound for them. That's who you're meant to teach, or who
And
you're meant to speak to.
the other side of it is sometimes your message is not for this generation, it may be for the next.
Right, right,
Think
right,
of
right.
so many greats who within their time period were thought of as
Yes,
crazy,
yes,
but
yes,
their
yes,
names went into history and we're
yes.
still following them today. That
Right,
was and is
right.
destiny. So speak
Indeed.
because you must give birth to it. Do
Mm,
because you must give birth to it. Just follow through because you must give birth to it. That idea, that
yes.
you need to get it outside of you, and it is your
Yeah.
gift. It was gifted to you, so you can give it as a gift.
Right.
Maybe not
Right.
this generation, maybe it's the generation after.
Yes.
But don't
Yes.
just focus on the applause.
Yeah. Maybe that's your legacy. Maybe the
Correct.
profound it's going to be your legacy that's going to be lived out. So that
Yes.
is so profound, you said, Michelle, because look, all the people like Neville Goddard and Napoleon Hill and all these other people who have
Yes.
their books are literally golden right now. Some of these
Correct.
books, you can't even get a print of it because it's out of print, but the information, it's the teachings. At their time, back in their days, they were
They were
said
way
that people were
ahead.
judging it and saying this is of the devil because it was so different from what people were
Yes.
living out. Now
Yes.
people are eating it up. People are like gravitating towards it. It's like these guys were ahead of their time. And sometimes when you're like even sharing messages with your friends and your family, and they think like, oh, you're the loony one in the crew or the loony one in the family. Again, Michelle, what you said is maybe it's not for that time. Maybe you meant to like put it out there for the next generation. You don't want to drop that into that, in the seed into the next generation for other people. So it's so
Yeah.
profound. Everybody have a purpose. No one of us are here by chance.
Correct.
One of my clients who have been suicidal for a
Mm.
couple of years,
Yes.
she would say stuff like, I don't have a purpose. And when she started working with me, I was like, no,
Self-talk.
darling, just the very fact that you are alive, you have a divine purpose. God
Correct.
is not that frivolous that's gonna just be dropping human beings on planet Earth like all willy nilly. God is not
Yes.
dropping people without purpose. What do you think? God is just frivolous like that? Just like, oh, I'm gonna drop a whole bunch of 100,000 human beings right now. No, you have
Yes.
a purpose. There's something you're meant to live out. Whether it is being love and being light or being that sweet grandmother, like we talked about on the phone yesterday, about that
Yes.
sweet grandmother who is so kind and loving with her words when she cooked that meal. You can feel the love in it. Whether she's a supporter, maybe she's a nurturer, maybe she's the one who will nurture leaders. Not all of us are leaders. Some of us have to fill the other roles of supporters. Some of us you gotta fill other positions there. So yes, everybody have a purpose. Every single person may have been to be a mother, to have to nurture and to love your children who will go on and do other things, and teachers and ingrain that beautiful information and teaching into these kids to help nurture their gifts things out of them. You
That is
know?
powerful. And I think it leads us to now giving some feel good tips, some
Yes.
quick things that you can do throughout the day that may aid you.
Mm.
Feel good tips. Feel good
Yes.
tips. I think I'll tag Amit. On this one. A feel good tip. I think knowing when to move. Sometimes
Mm.
we get information and we just want to stay in the same place where we would
Mm.
have received the information and dwell on it. But
Yes.
there are times when we need to pick ourselves up and move from that place where we may
Mm.
have gotten that phone call, gotten that text, gotten those
Right.
words, gotten that treatment, gotten that disappointment, and just move. Understanding. Yes, we can learn so
Mm.
much from nature, looking at the
Mhm.
beauty of how
Yes.
flowers
The birds.
grow, the birds, everything. But unlike a tree, we have
Mm.
the ability to move.
Mhm.
We don't have to stay in one place and take everything that is coming to us. We can
Yes.
move. So use the
Mhm.
ability that you have. Use that one up that you have, the ability to move. So you may get a call, get information, get whatever. If you just
Mhm.
stay in that space, you stay in that energy. So move. And
Mhm.
with it, you move out of the energy of where you would have heard that at
Yeah.
that time.
Mm. That's so
Your
true.
favorite tip, tag your
I was, letting it sink in, what you were saying, and I had to shake. I had to move.
See,
So
I had to move. You're like, boom.
yeah, shake me one time. But what I would say And I feel this is as a collective, the entire world. Lockdown have given us the opportunity. COVID has given us. There were opportunities even in the things that we thought was the most, or probably was the most detrimental. But step back into your heart. And I
Ah,
would say back, some people have never been in their heart. We were trained outside of our heart. Oh, don't trust your heart. Your heart is evil. Oh, da 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 da. Da. Especially when it go against certain ideology and belief
yes,
systems and the control of leaders and the masses and stuff.
yes.
But begin to step into your heart. Allow, and how do you personally do that? You talk to God. Teach me how to step into my heart. The toughest thing is the journey from the head to the heart, and that's
Mm,
the spiritual awakening. That is awakening into self, because
yes,
we are trained to focus here, the mind, the mind, the mind, the mind. But the mind is the most, is the least intelligent. And take it from me, a hypnotist, who loves to study the mind, to help balance the mind. And the heart is the most powerful. That is
yes.
where you hear the voice of God. That is where you get the inkling and the nudges, and you get the this in your silent time. You get information. That's when
Mm.
you feel like it's something big is coming, but I don't know what. Something
But
is
you
big
just,
is coming. God
yes.
is giving you that feeling. Something is coming. Something, So some of us
It's
don't
a
even
Mary
know.
Poppins moment.
Yeah.
Something.
So the heart stepping into your inner discernment, your spiritual giftings, your intuition. Make that a commitment to step into your heart. Yes, the mind has
Yes.
purpose. By all means, God is not going to give you a mind for no reason. But your mind is your servant, is not your master. The heart is where the voice of God speaks.
I
So
love that.
my thing is for begin to. I'm sowing this a little seed into you, everybody who's watching and
Mm.
listening. Like begin to commit to step into your heart. Begin. I'm not saying to step into your heart and forget the mind. The mind have a purpose. The mind has a role, but going into your heart. Some people don't even want. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go. No, you're not living life. You're not living out from a deep place, from connection with God, if you're not going into your heart. And again, coming back to what you were saying, Michelle, about the guarding your heart. Guard your heart with sacredness, with reverence, not with
Yes.
a wall. So that's my feel good tip.
Beautiful. I love it. I love that feel good tip. And I think how we started, it's exactly how we will have our close in terms of remembering that quote from Marianne Williamson, the spiritual
Mm,
journey. It is about unlearning fear
mm,
and the acceptance of love. We've
yes.
done some soul inspection, we've done some hard work, we shared with you our downloads for
Mhm.
today. And we thank you so very much for your light and its warmth
Yes.
as we remind you
Yes.
that there is power within you. Love and light.
Indeed.
I'm Michelle, and this is my sweet soul sister,
Nada. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Love and light. If you have anything that is
Mhm.
on your heart and mind that you want to share with us, email us at
Yes, please. We'll
michellenarda4
love to hear.
at gmail.com. So thank you so very much. Have a great one. We love
Yes.
you. There's power within you.
Bye.